Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afqar, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. Yeah, so happy to have you again with us on the live show, and also um, thank you for those who will be also present on the replay. So thank you for co-creating with us this experience today with Matthew John. And yeah, I'm really excited that he's back. He's been joining us almost every season recently in the past couple of years. And the feedback we've been receiving, it's really amazing from those of you who worked with him, either one-on-one or on his Ascending as one program. And and also from my own perspective, I really love how deep he can go to explain the esoteric about spirituality, about our connections with the universe, with other beings, and also finding or connecting more with our purpose here on Earth and why we are here and how we can um, how to say, enhance the quality of our personal life and at the same time serving the collective awakening. So yeah, so I'm very happy that he's back. And for those of you who are new to him, he is a spiritual teacher, intuitive, psychic, medium, trance channeler, intuitive astrologer, starseed guide, energy healer, medical intuitive, speaker, and spiritual life coach and mentor. And today's call is about finding your divine purpose in the Aquarian age. So we will be talking about that. He will be also talking about like divine purpose and the importance of our chart in aligning with that purpose and like bringing into fruition those gifts that we have that will really support our path here as Starseed's empath, those who are here to share their gifts and bring more light to the world. And he will be sharing also about the different Lightworker archetypes and the energy of this year 2024 and much more. So yeah, and also he will be doing one-on-one readings for the live callers. So for that, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand on Zoom. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing star 9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so with that, Matthew, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. I'm excited.
Yeah, wonderful. So yeah, let's start by talking about because like we talk a lot about our purpose and divine purpose, but what is your perspective uh, about it, like how we will be embodied and maybe be aligning with it in this time as the energies are really shifting like really fast.
Yeah, and I think that's the key word or the key, point is that the energies are shifting really fast. And as we move forward in the timeline, things are accelerating. And this year, from everything I've received from my guides and from the Syrian beings that I channel and from, all of my intuitive resources, is that essentially time is speeding up this year more than ever before in our planetary history. And it's going to see, we're going to look back likely at the end of 2024 on a planetary level and be like, wow, did a lot of crazy stuff happen this year, right? But also on personal levels, a lot of us that have started to really align with the ascending timelines will look back likewise and say, whoa, did I shift a lot? Did I do a lot? Wow, like this was quite a year for me. And that's because of this perceived acceleration of time. And what's happening is that we're attempting to catch up on a soul level with the speed at which Gaia herself, the planetary consciousness herself, is ascending up the frequency bands. Because a lot of us, if you found this show, right, you probably have heard the term ascension. You probably have heard about the coming new age, or maybe the new age we're already in, or the golden age, right? And it is very true. And the planetary consciousness of Gaia herself is on an ascension trajectory. And in a lot of ways, although it seems to play out as the dichotomous opposite on, from what we see in the news, right? The truth is that Earth herself is accelerating in frequency and at a rate that's actually quicker than the vast majority of people on the planet, which is actually why we see this extreme polarity, extreme dichotomy between people like us, people that have found this light worker community that just couldn't hurt an ant, right? Versus people that, are perpetuating horrible wars literally right now. I mean, there's more war on planet Earth right now than since the end of World War II, which is a scary thought. And from everything I've been told, it's going to grow and get much, much worse this year in particular, right? So that the extreme polarity, that extreme dichotomy, that extreme contrast between the light and the dark is actually a sign of the acceleration of Gaia's frequencies herself. So what's happening is those of us that are light workers and starseeds, our souls are really pushing on the gas pedal, so to speak. Our souls are really wanting for us, the ego personality selves, to get on board with the highest possible timeline that our soul has set up for us, because Gaia herself is needing us as the light workers and starseeds to step fully into our divine paths of service, because this is how the ascension actually takes place. Although it's Gaia herself that we could say is pushing it forward, the only way that the changes, the actual shifts happen on the planet is through the pawns in the chess game that are here. And we are the light worker part of those pawns in the chess game. So we have to get on our individual divine paths of service as quickly as possible to catch up with the ascending frequencies. And although this has been a relevant topic for decades now, it is the case that right now, because of where we're at in the timeline, we can see this reflected in the astrology as well, which we should discuss today. Pluto having entered into Aquarius, which is essentially this 20-year on-ramp into the true planetary age of Aquarius, right? The sun lighting up Pluto on its entrance into Aquarius as if it was the sun was shining a spotlight on Pluto and saying, welcome, celebrating it, right? So we're in that time now, and it is just so crucial for us to step into what our soul ideally mapped out for us as our highest timeline and as our divine service work. And, understanding our lightworker archetype, which we'll dig into today, can also be very helpful with that, as is understanding one's astrology, which we'll discuss today as well.
Wonderful. And yeah, so like you said, we talk a lot about divine purpose, and maybe many of us, they, as you say, they do the healing work. Maybe they are in their path for a while, but also they try to figure out what they can offer or what they can share with the world, and it can create maybe some kind of confusion. They think that maybe they are on the wrong path or something like that. So how do you see that phase in our path?
I've been through that. Every light worker I've talked to has been through that, the period where you feel like this is not right, right? And in a way it's not, and in a way it is. And this is I think for me, one of the most exciting parts of life is the non-duality of things, and the fact that we can look at anything from multiple angles, and all angles are actually just as relevant as the other angles. And so on one hand, when let's say, I'm sure this will resonate with at least a couple people watching this call or on with this live, is like being in, a job, right, that just feels like it's sucking your energy rather than providing energy for you, right? If Sunday night comes and the football playoff games are over and you're dreading the next day, that's not a good sign, right? And I'm sure there's some of you that are probably nodding your heads right now. And so on one hand, well, maybe that's not the highest possible path for what your soul's mapped out for you. On the other hand, it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone. I'm sure there's something you've learned, or you have learned and are learning in that occupation that is going to contribute something to, let's say, the higher timeline version of what your service mission can be. And, not just that, okay, let's say you really, really hate your job. Well, we could say then that's showing you the contrast between what you don't want. And really, it's probably showing you either kind of who your parents were or who others that you ended up reflecting in your community are, and also likely who you were in other lifetimes. A lot of the mundane, so to speak, jobs we find ourselves in, well, we had done those in other lifetimes. And so we just kind of naturally settled into those in this lifetime. And this is not just me sugarcoating it. This is how the soul sees things. And this is a huge part of my work is understanding, okay, yeah, I can know how me, the ego personality, Matthew, can look at my life. How does my soul view my life? And the soul views everything as valuable. Everything is valuable experience, wisdom gained, information about the self. And also a lot of times there's an inevitable mission of balancing karma, okay, bringing in karmas from other lifetimes. This most often manifests in our relationships, right? Think about what have been the most difficult relationships with family members in this life. What have been the most difficult relationships with partners, ex-partners? What have been the most difficult relationships in a career context, right? And these are all envelopes that your soul has set up for you, dioramas, so to speak, your soul is set up for you to be able to play with the karma that you brought in from other lifetimes in order to alchemize it in some way. So it's all set up. But to kind of go back to the original question, okay, those that are watching or those that are with us live that are feeling like they've gotten off path, right? Okay, what is it about? Let me ask you this question if you're one of these people nodding your heads. What is it about where you're at now that feels out of alignment? Think about that, okay? And then what would the opposite of that be, right? If you are at a job where, again, you're feeling like every time you get home from work, you're exhausted and your energies, but not just a physical exhaustion, but I mean like an energy drain, right? And a lot of you know what I mean. And then again, dreading Sunday night, Monday morning coming, right? That's a sign of that. What is the opposite of that? Well, the opposite of that is a type of work that gives you energy, that gives you life, right? Ironically enough, all the time, although my career, because I work an incredible amount, people are amazed at how much I do. I'm amazed at how much I do. I'm very often physically exhausted. That's very true. And I work way more hours than a normal 9 to 5, probably double. Okay. That's very true as well. However, ironically enough, a lot of times when I'm tired, my work gives me life. My work gives me energy because it's what I'm so impassioned about on every level of my being. There's a fire within me to make every little and every big impact that I can make on individuals and on large groups of people and on the world itself. And because of that, despite if I do get tired, despite if I do get frustrated, it doesn't really matter in the long-term context because I get right back on it. And there's always this flame of passion within me. So what is that flame of passion for you? And it doesn't have to be, I want to implore, it does not have to be doing something like Monsef or I am doing. It doesn't have to be being a podcaster or being a spiritual teacher or being a meditation teacher or whatever. If that lights that passion within you, then yes, go for that. But maybe it's art, maybe it's music, right? Think about how dry, dreary, and awful this world would be without art or music. It would be like a prison. It would be like a massive prison if there were no art or music, right? That's what happened in 1984, George Orwell, right? They started taking away art and music. Remember that book? So, those of you that feel impassioned towards art and music, how about those of you that feel impassioned towards conservation, right? Whether it's in the context of a zoo, or whether it's an animal sanctuary, or whether it's rescuing animals off the street, or whether it's helping to clean up the land around you, right? Or whether it's solar panels or whatever. Can you imagine, a planet where no one was working towards cleaning up the planet, where no one was working towards cleaner energy? Our planet is already so sick. It is so sick right now, physically, we could say, because of how much it's been polluted. So it's so crucial that people work on that. And by the way, that'll be a big theme for this year because of Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in Taurus, which actually occurs on April 20th on Earth Day, which is by design, from the stars and from the forces above, because so much of the theme of the technological revolution of the next 20 years, and especially over the next couple of years, over this decade, is about technologies that will actually be supportive and healing of the earth itself, rather than what's the opposite and what have we been used to, right? Is our technologies that hurt the earth. And how archaic is that? How archaic is it that we still have technologies that not only are incredibly inefficient, like in the context, comparison to what they do on other planets, right? But also harms the earth itself, fossil fuels and the type of frequencies that are utilized, with 4G and 5G and 6G to come. It harms things, right? So, that sort of innovation, moving from the, Pluto and Capricorn days, where a lot of that was about just pillaging and taking as much from the earth, right? I mean, more oil was taken from the earth during the 16 years of Pluto in Capricorn than like at any time prior, right? Oil production now is higher than it's ever been in history, right? Which is such a bizarre dichotomy as we are trying to move away from fossil fuels and towards a more sustainable energy source. We're actually harvesting more oil now than ever before, right? So that was Pluto in Capricorn. And as we move deeper into Pluto in Aquarius, so much of the themes are about what actually supports the earth. So those of you that are working on that, right? How about those of you that are in, let's say, the crucial jobs that keep our society functioning cohesively, whether you're a construction worker or whether you're, a home maintenance person or a plumber, or whether you're a nurse, right? Or whether you're a taxi driver, an Uber driver, right? Like just keeping our society functioning, all of you, like, but those of you that love it, right? I mean, before I did this full time, I loved delivering food. I know that sounds silly, but I loved working for the rideshare apps and delivering food, like as a side income. I don't know why. I my whole life I've always been passionate about driving, about cars, and I just like driving around and listening to the radio and making people smile when you bring them their food. And so just that's the question: is what is it that lights the flame within? And it's more important now than ever, because for those of you, because that's what's going to drive you towards that highest timeline of divine service work. And it may be in stepping stones, right? I look back at a lot of the things, I did for work that were outside the spiritual context. I was a professional referee. I did a lot of food delivery. I was a DJ. I did all sorts of interesting jobs and interesting sales jobs as well. And, everything taught me something. Mostly what it taught me was about communicating with people, how to communicate with people of all sorts of different personalities and backgrounds. And that's been the most valuable contribution from those jobs I did before to my current career, because my whole career is about communication, right? This is all I do is communicate. So that's, I learned that from my previous work that was outside of the spiritual field. So there's always something to learn, but look for that fire. Where is that flame, that eternal flame within? There's a right very close to where I live. I live in the Finger Lakes in Western New York. Some of you that are near here know where I'm at. And those of you that don't, the reason it's called the Finger Lakes is because when you're flying over it in a plane, the lakes look like fingers, right? So it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. And you can maybe see the snow in the background if it's not too bright. But actually, to the west of here, near Buffalo, there's something called the Eternal Flame, and it's this natural gas, a natural gas like leak essentially from the earth, and there's a flame it's underneath a waterfall. It's a really cool thing. Google it sometime if you get a chance. The Eternal Flame, Buffalo, New York, and you can hike to it, and it's always lit, and it's the coolest thing. And I think of that as like, so, no matter how disconnected you might feel at times from joy, no matter how frustrated you might feel, no matter how much you might feel like life is hopeless sometimes. I'm sure I feel like that sometimes. We all feel like that sometimes. There is that eternal flame within and that's what guides you towards where your soul is ideally wanting to take you.
Absolutely. Yeah, wonderful. I really love what you shared now. Because also, like, when we just judge maybe a certain job or certain career, it's more related to how to say, how society created some identities and they try to make one better than the other. So and like from my experience, it's the more how to say, we have this maybe self-worth or self-love, the deeper it is, the more we become, how to say, like free from that matrix. And it's more we create things, we do things because we love them. It's what we feel in our hearts.
Yeah, I agree. And, the way that we're like, at least in the West, you and I come from very different cultures. So I'm interested to hear in your culture. But, in the West, like in school and from your parents and your friends' parents, the rhetoric is, make sure you do good in school and make sure you can get a good job, right? That can pay well, support you. The whole idea of the American dream, right? Buying a house and having a family, but it's all geared towards, okay, logically, with the left brain, right? What will make me enough money in order? And I know it's by design for my soul that I never wanted to go in that direction. My father provided wonderfully for us as a family. He was in the same job for 35 years or something like that. He was very well respected in his field. He was a scientist. But he worked really, really hard and really, really long hours. And a lot of times it was tough work. It was draining a lot, I think, on him. And me, when I was a kid, I would sometimes see him come home from work exhausted. He would just come home and flop down on the couch and just, have the TV on and fall asleep at 6 p.m. because he was just so exhausted. He went into work like 5 a.m. or something crazy like that. And like for that imprinted into my brain, like, I don't want to do that. Like despite how important his job was, I don't want to have something where like it's the same thing every day, and I come home and I'm exhausted, and me being a little mad, I wanted to play, and he was just too tired a lot of the times. But he was wonderful. Weekends and Friday nights we do so much fun things. But that imprinted in me, and I'm sure that was by design for my soul, to make me look towards my creativity and the arts, right? And speaking and humor, right? And what inspired me. And then eventually, when I started having my spiritual awakening experiences, the psychic stuff, the mediumship stuff, the tarot stuff, and the Reiki stuff, and all the stuff that my dad actually would have said, at that time was pretty, silly or not even real, right? My dad, he was an atheist for most of his life. So I know my soul wanted me to have that contrast to actually move me in the direction of where my soul was intending to move me, right? And so it took a lot of courage over the years for me. I mean, most people that go into this, into this new age field and want to make it a full-time career, most people don't succeed at it. It's not easy. It takes an incredible amount of work. It takes a lot of creativity to get your message out there and to monetize it in a way that is able to support, what kind of income you want to bring in. But there are a lot of us that have done it, and there are more and more, because the new age field is going to be, and it already is, one of the fastest growing fields in the world. Why? Because people are awakening spiritually faster than they ever have before, right? Just like technology, where's all the money? If you want to have a six-figure plus job, it's in technology, right? And it has been like that since Y2K. And that's going to continue to grow. Like if you want to really be wealthy, I mean, you work in AI now, right? So AI development, right? And that's going to continue. But at the same time, there's such an importance that's going to be placed more and more on everything we're doing. And because of that, it is actually the best time ever for anyone that is feeling inspired or dreaming of doing the sort of work you and I are doing as a full-time career. Now is the best time ever to jump into this, because this is going to be one of the fastest growing fields. And it already is, although it's still very, very niche, right? Most people still aren't finding this stuff. It's the 0.1%, let's say. But that's going to very quickly over the next 5 years grow like you wouldn't believe on this planet, because what's happening is so many people around the planet, it's like a switch is being turned on inside them. And when that switch turns on, they're going to have some sort of spiritual awakening experiences like a lot of us have had, and they're going to start seeking. And, when I was having my spiritual awakening, where did I seek? I had to go to the bookstore, which was actually fun. I'm very grateful that my spiritual awakenings occurred like before this stuff was in vogue on the internet, because I don't know, it seemed so appropriate and authentic to have to like literally go to Barnes and Noble, and I would just sit in the new age section for hours and just read. And that was how I started learning. But nowadays it's shifted completely, right? Nowadays it's the internet. Nowadays it's YouTube, it's TikTok, it's Facebook, etc. And that's just the way of the world, because that's, Pluto and Aquarius is all about technology. And now everything is going to be in a cloud. Everything is going to be on the internet. Not just some things like, books in many ways, although they'll always be around, will be just kind of remnants of the old world more and more. Whereas this, right, what we're doing here is the new world. And, right now we're doing this on Zoom, but it won't be too far away where a lot of people are meeting in virtual meeting rooms and putting on some sort of like Oculus device where it would look like I'm like sitting in front of you in a room and you guys are in the and the technology for that already exists. It's a lot of people are playing with that stuff already, but that stuff will become more and more, right? And then eventually it'll be, well, you want to come to this meeting with Matthew John and Monsef Afkir, get in your teleportation device in your basement and come here in an instant. Like we might be 20 years away from that or longer, but not too far away from that sort of stuff with technology. So, yeah, it's just an exciting time. Like if you let it be, if you fall too much into paying attention to the dark side of things going on in the world, which are more and more, and again, they may get worse and worse, it can take you away from the possibilities. And what your soul loves is when you look for the possibilities, because that's what unlocks those higher timelines. And those higher timelines, not only are you contributing to the planet with your divine service work in a way that is superior to maybe on the lower timelines, it's also more enjoyable and it's more interesting. And there's different people that you meet on those higher timelines than you meet on the lower timelines. And there's different soul contracts that you unlock, right? It's like, so as you elevate timelines, it's like, think of it as there's these gifts that are waiting for you, right? And then you get to unwrap the gifts if you're able to sustain on that higher frequency band. And until you are, those gifts are just kind of waiting in the ethers, but they're there, right? So it's all about elevating frequency, and it's a long-term thing. It's not, you don't have to always be in joy, and you don't always have to be happy. I'm not always happy. I'm sure, Monsef, you're not always happy. I'm sure all of us are not always happy. We're human, right? It's natural to have a roller coaster of emotions. However, it's a long-term thing where you start to be more emotionally resilient, where you start to um, operate from the heart more and more, right? Like you said, there's a love. We, instead of thinking, and that's where we begun this segment, right? Instead of thinking, what do I have to do to make money to provide? It's, what do I love doing, and how can I align with a way that provides for me as well?
Yeah. Wonderful. And yeah, do we take maybe one question from the audience and then we continue? Because also you want to talk about the natal charts and the Lightworker archetypes.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's. I'd love to do a lot of readings today for people. And just FYI, we got a packed call as always, and those that don't get a chance to get a live reading, all of, or not all my packages B and C have readings in them, right? The B is 2, I think, and C is 3. So if you do package B or C, you can get, and you don't have to wait that long. I'm booking, as soon as early March for those live readings.
Yeah, wonderful. So Sue, can you please unmute yourself? Hello, Sue. So we will be back to you later.
There, you can talk now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. It's Sue.
Yeah.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, Matthew. How are you? Thank you for taking my call. I much appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Blessings to both of you.
Thank you. So I think what would be good for you and for anyone that ends up raising their hand and having a chance to chat is, ask me about either like, what do I see maybe for your service work in the world, or about any obstacles, like what obstacles are in your way or what energetic blocks are in your way, and how can you overcome those?
Okay. Since I'm retired and everything, I think I've done I was a nurse and that was my passion. So I'm glad I got to do that in my lifetime. I think right now, I'm doing like a completion transition cycle of my life. But what are my energy blocks right now, or some of the obstacles that I know I'm going through some really challenges right now, but I still feel there's one major block that's messing me up totally. And I can't pinpoint it.
Well, let me ask you this: is what do you feel is missing? More
I've
than
lost
anything?
I've lost my independence and I want it back. Literally, I want it back.
So, and you spent so many decades of your life caring for others, right?
Exactly. Yes. I was very independent. I was the caregiver. Now
Yeah.
I have to be kind of taken care of. And last night, for whatever reason, it was like 4 o'clock this morning. I just, like, the body got very angry and thought about losing my independence, that I actually saw red. And it just came out of the blue. Like, just happened.
Is it physically or financially or both?
It's physical. It's the loss of, the challenge with my eyesight. My husband right now is kind of like, I call him my caregiver. Thank God I have him. I feel, though, whatever lesson I was to learn about receiving, I've done that, but I'm still like stuck.
So you haven't then. That means, so that's what it means. It means you haven't fully mastered the lesson of receiving, because if you had, then you wouldn't be in this position. So just always the first principle to start with when trying to logically deduce, what the point is of an experience we're going through. The first premise to accept is that everything right now is exactly as it's meant to be. There are no mistakes. Okay. So from
Okay.
there, we can say, okay, then what, what am I facing and why? And then the why is going to be, the answer to the why is going to be something it's either karma to be balanced or it's a lesson to be mastered. And for you in this sense, it's a little bit of both. And that's usually the case where there's a past life where you were blind or a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you drank a lot and I don't think you really were able to go about it in the most spiritual way. It was more of a depression and a sense of a lack of control and an anger over that lack of control.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a little bit of that karma from another lifetime. And then there's the lesson in, the dichotomy of, okay, most of my life, as I said, you were in the position of caretaking others. And it's a surrender into allowing that caretaking from your husband and from whatever other family members. But it's like at the same time, accepting where you're at and finding what strengths are actually available to you because of the experience of the loss of eyesight. For example, you're likely to, this is when your soul is going to really grow your psychic skills. That's why a lot of traditionally, like in the olden days, a lot of, I went to one of these guys when I was in Brazil. He was this old psychic. He had to be in his 80s and he couldn't see, right? But he could feel everything and he could see, but not just with his physical vision. That was, in the 1800s and 1900s, the early part of the century, a lot of psychics that end up being the respected psychics in their towns and villages were blind or were partially blind. And it's because of that not being able to see, it forces one inward and it forces one to develop their psychic skills. So if you can see it as there's a strength in, because of this, you are becoming and are going to continue to become more magical and psychic and gifted than your family, than people around you. And at the same time, there's this, it's just a slight surrender into, this is how life is. And I'm thankful for him being here. And I remember, maybe on some deep unconscious level, that we had planned this, that we had planned as souls, that towards the end of, my experience here, the last big stage, you're going to be there because of this, because of this. And that helps us to heal us. It helps us to fully integrate us, because I'm no longer resisting that type of energy. I'm surrendering to it a bit. And actually there's a safety. It's like a cancer energy or a lunar energy in astrology.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I understand what you're saying about surrendering to receiving. I still kind of do a pushback on that.
Yeah, well, that and whatever, wherever there's that pushback, that shows you exactly where, most of the work is and where you'll find the most reward.
Right. Well, thank you.
It's all very nuanced. There's none of this is like going to be one big thing, and all of a sudden you're like past all this stuff. This is a long-term thing, and it's all, and like I gave you 5 different aspects of it, and they're all relevant. There may be other aspects as well, but just remember, start with that, premise that all is meant to be as it is, and there's no mistakes, and that is completely true. It's not just sugarcoating rhetoric. It's how the soul thinks.
And you're right. My psychic abilities have gotten very good. Like,
Yeah, and they'll continue to. And then see how you can be of service with that. Because then you get to be the caretaker, but just in a different way. Like anytime, when I have clients, which is every day almost, right? I'm caretaking them, right? They're coming to me with their issues, and I'm helping. I'm being that loving, shoulder to cry on. They get to cry on the phone with me, and then I give them insight, and that's what you can do for others.
Oh, okay. And I know the angels have come to me. I've seen them like actually during the day. They've been talking to me, and also star beings have been coming to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It has really opened up.
And so we're going to move on to someone else, but maybe you can have, because of the eyesight, maybe you can have your husband or your kids or somebody help you set up a website if you haven't yet, and help you, or get set up. Like you could work for one of the psychic hotlines if you wanted to for fun. California Psychics, or there's a bunch of. I've had a lot of people that work for those. They all had a great experience. Like you set your own hours, you set your own rates. Just have someone help you with the technology side of things, and it would feel great. You'd feel, the more you feel like you're being of service, the less you'll feel stuck. Remember that.
Okay, I'll remember that. And you're right. I get that. Well, thank you very much. I much appreciate it.
All the best.
Thank you, Montessette, also for taking my call. And blessings to both of you.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Appreciation from my heart.
Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much, Matthew. And just a question from our audience on YouTube. They are asking if they can type their questions, or is it better they talk to you on Zoom?
Whatever you want. I mean, I can do it either way.
Okay. So do we take one more, or we continue with more subjects?
I think we should talk about the service work archetypes.
Yes.
Is that cool? And then we can do more readings.
Right.
So the 6 service worker archetypes. This was downloaded to me back in August, and it's kind of a new teaching, and I'm still working with it, but I found it to be pretty accurate. And what I want to emphasize is that you can be multiple. So don't pigeonhole yourself into having to be only 1 or 2 of these archetypes. You could be 3 or 4 of them. Okay. But I want you to, and I'd love for those that are on either the Zoom chat or the YouTube chat, type in the chat. Let us know which one of these seem to resonate with you. Okay. The quiet grid worker. Okay. First of all, what does the term grid worker means? Because I know a lot of you have heard that term and maybe don't know what it means, or maybe you watched some random person on TikTok that has 1 million views but has no idea what the hell they're talking about. Okay. So grid worker means you're consciously working with the grid lines of the planet itself. Okay. And that can be in forms of meditation. Like anytime you're doing any sort of meditating or putting intentions out into the universe to be of service in some way to helping heal the planet. And, every time there's tragedy on the planet, when the Lehana, fires took place last July, right? A lot of light workers around the world banded together to pray when, there in your country, you had the earthquakes. Like a lot of people banded together to pray, the Turkey earthquake, et cetera, right? And trust me, there'll be more than enough tragedies around the world this year to pray for. I can tell you that. There's so many of you are like Sue. She worked her whole life as a nurse, right? Kind of working, making a conscious impact, making an impact in their field, bringing light to their field, right? But your work is never, it's not going to be super public, okay? My work is obviously very public. Monsef's work is very public. The quiet grid worker archetype works in the background. You go to your chosen, field of work. you try to make people laugh and smile. You try to bring light to that field. You try to maybe in some way innovate and bring more of a whether it's a loving presence or an expansion of, you know, the way of doing things into that field. You pray for others' healing. You pray for the well-being of the planet. You pray for whatever, and you visualize it. Like, that's the quiet grid worker archetype. Okay, it's in the background. So let me know if that feels like you in the chat. The traveling grid worker. Okay, the traveling grid worker. Your soul's plan and just life, we could say, ends up taking you to many different places on the planet, like physical, geographic locations. Those of you that are traveling nurses, those of you that are airline pilots, those of you that have been in the military, those of you that are, worked in the Peace Corps, those of you that are travel guides, right? Your soul, like before your awakening, your soul may have taken you to many different, like, for example, before my awakening, my soul took me all over the world. My soul took me to Australia and New Zealand. And I was having this conversation with my mother the other day because I was showing her, I have it right here. This is my boomerang, my Aboriginal boomerang, right? Perfect, because the Australian Open just wrapped up, right? Congrats, Yannick Sinner. And, I loved Australia. And I remember, I was like 18, I think, when I went to Australia, and I was in Uluru, Ayers Rock, which is, it's the solar plexus chakra of planet Earth, right? And the Aboriginals in Australia believe that it's the birthing point of all of humanity, right? It's not ancient Egypt. It's actually Uluru. It's actually Ayers Rock. And who knows? Maybe it is, right? But I remember being there, and I was only 18, and this was long before my true spiritual awakening. And I just felt something extremely special. Like, the other kids in the group were more like, just, oh, it's pretty, the sunset. But I was like, whoa, this is like a portal or something. There's something. And then when the Aboriginals took our group like up around the base of the mountain and were explaining it, I was just enthralled by every word. And I really cherish this this boomerang here that I have. But that's an example. And then, like, life took me to Israel and to Jordan and to Egypt. And I remember before I had the more like market awakening experiences, I was in Petra in Jordan. Did I say that right? Petra, right? In Jordan. And, I remember at one point I was walking alone in the desert, and going to every blanket where they had tea, because Jordanian tea is, I think, the best tea in the world. Although Egyptian tea is amazing as well, right? And I someday I'll have to try Moroccan tea, right? I'm sure that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, very sweet.
Yeah, the Middle East, they know how to do tea, right? But I remember just like, one of these ancient doorways that was cut out into the rock. And I literally, I didn't expect this at all, but I placed my hand on the rock, and I could feel that it was a portal. And I felt my hand actually, like my etheric hand, moved through. And I was like, what? And I did it again. I'm like, what? Right. And most people probably like wouldn't have been able to perceive that. But obviously, even before I was super into this spiritual stuff, I still was already pretty open, I guess. Right. Anyways, before I ever stepped into this position, long before, my soul took me all over the world, Europe, every continent, except for Asia yet, but every other continent, to explore and just to travel and just to experience life. And I know that's a part of my archetype, because what was happening and what I didn't know at the time, but now I know, is that I was being used as a vessel to essentially imprint codes into the grids. And if you're the traveling grid worker, one of the main reasons, and one of the reasons on a deeper level, that your soul takes you to all these places around the planet is because your vessel is being used to imprint codes into the grid lines. Okay. Our planet is a network of these grid lines. Okay. And the biggest of the lines do run through the sacred sites like Uluru, right? Uluru and Machu Picchu, you know, Lake Titicaca in Peru, Mount Shasta, you know, Glastonbury, etc. And it forms this network. And a lot of you, as the traveling grid workers, will actually find yourself at one point or another at the Earth's chakras. So, you know, the first of the Earth's chakras that I went to was Uluru, right? Then I went to the pyramids, right? The pyramids of Giza are, my understanding, that's the throat chakra, the fifth chakra of the planet. And, you know, I'm sure eventually I'll hit all of them, right? Actually, in May, I'm running a retreat, you know, all on my own. I'm running this huge spiritual retreat in Mount Shasta, which is the root chakra of planet Earth, right? So the traveling grid worker is your work or life takes you to many different places on the planet, okay? A guide, the guide archetype, right? You are a guide or a healer for others. I'm certainly that guide archetype, Monsef. I think you more and more, as I watch your work, are stepping into that, where you're a channel and I'm a channel for guidance, for advice, for helping others to see things from a different perspective. It's like the Hanged Man card in the tarot, right? Part of the meaning of the Hanged Man card is seeing things from a different perspective, right? The Hanged Man is hanging upside down because he's looking at things from a different perspective. So the guide archetype and early signs of like being the guide archetype are those of you that, like, you know, long before, like, I know some of you watching probably already are healers or coaches, right? But those of you that aren't quite yet, perhaps, or maybe will be, or whatever area of life that, you know, you have to be of service to others and guide others, right? But probably before you stepped into that work, life story, right? But that was always me. Like, long before I ever stepped into this this type of work, I would always have people coming up to me and just telling me their life story. Like, you know, part of, as astrologically, I guess it's being a Scorpio, but you know, and anyone with Sun or Scorpio, my mother's a Scorpio rising. She was always like that, where people always come up to her randomly and spill the beans about everything. But that's an early sign of being that guide a light worker archetype, is just outside of the context of anything that's paid, is just people want to tell you things very honestly, and a lot of times things that are very intimate about themselves. The leader archetype. You are a leader of large groups. Okay. So, you know, I'm certainly that. Monsef, because of how public you are, you're I think in that archetype as well, is where we are. This is the public archetype of the light worker, where you are your face and you are out there. People find you, and they, instead of, you know, it's not just about receiving guidance one-on-one, but it's in the context of large groups. And it doesn't have to be instant, okay? And like nowadays, especially with the, you know, Pluto entering into Aquarius in the next 20 years being so much about technology, is, you know, this meeting, like I said, eventually it'll be, you know, probably more virtual, but for now, like meeting in these Zoom rooms, etc., and YouTube and all the social media platforms, this is where the leader lightworker archetypes are able to show themselves, right? And so that's pretty self-explanatory. If you find yourself in a position where you are a leader of large groups and you're at least a part of your work is espousing spiritual values. Okay. It doesn't have to be in a new age context. It could be in a religious context. And, you know, because there is absolutely an intersection of religion and new age spirituality. Like, to me, you know, that intersection is love, right? Love, it's the heart frequency. But if you're a leader in one way or another, or maybe you're a business trainer, right? But through your business training, you're also espousing values, about love and teamwork, and it's authentic, and it's not just fake, for the job, but it's actually authentic. That's that leader archetype. The innovator, okay, you are a changer of systems. You are a changer of systems. We have, as I mentioned before, systems on planet Earth. Really, really archaic systems, okay? The infrastructure of this planet is much closer to that of very beginnings of a third density experience, which is like the Neanderthal days, right? We're much closer to that still than we are to being a member of the Galactic Federation, a member of the galactic community, because the technology that aligns us with being a part of the galactic community has been and still is systematically suppressed by the powers that be on the planet. Like those of you that, well, it's not pleasant to think about a lot of times, and it can put you in a victim state, but the technology exists to heal all disease, cancer, etc., instantly. And it's suppressed because, cancer and all medical things are an industry first, a method of healing second, right? Everything is an industry first, method of healing second. And if you think about it, that's a feature of a flawed system, isn't it? Right? I would say it's capitalism itself, right? Capitalism itself, a feature of it is that profit comes over everything, including humanity, including life. Okay. Wars are the most profitable thing, right? The stock markets have been up like you wouldn't believe, to all-time highs ever since the Israel Hamas war started. And part of that is not a coincidence. War is incredibly profitable for so many different facets of those, the top of the pyramid, so to speak, right? So that's a flaw in the system. Like we are operating, as I would say it, under a very flawed system on this planet, where it's profit over everything else. So the innovators are the ones that are out to change the system. Okay. Whether it's, like I talked about, helping to shift us from fossil fuels to, to more sustainable energy technologies, those that are inventing alternative medical systems, right? Those that are inventing alternative healing devices, those that are inventing new and better ways to cultivate plants in an organic fashion, those that are cultivating new, supplements, new vitamin complexes, new smoothie powders, right? Just think of anything that is being innovative, that is shifting the existing flawed systems on the planet. That is the innovator archetype. So let me know if you're the innovator archetype. And then the final of the archetypes is the shadow worker archetype. Okay. You work amongst the shadows, or you work with the shadows. Okay. Part of me is absolutely a shadow worker archetype, because you can tell me anything in session, and you can tell me anything in readings, and I'll be honest about anything I see. Okay. That's one of my main values as a practitioner, is that transparent back and forth flow of honesty. So people talk to me about the deepest, darkest wounds they have. People talk to me about things that they're afraid to tell others. Okay. I've heard the wildest and darkest and scariest stories over my career, things that I wouldn't even be comfortable saying here. And, it's just, that's part of my archetype, is that shadow worker. And I'm very comfortable. Probably it's because I'm a Scorpio. I'm very comfortable working with the darkness, working with the shadows. I understand the darkness. I understand why people are greedy. I understand why people take advantage of others. I understand why people are violent in others. Because I know from, I've had past lives where I was a bad guy. I took advantage of others. I hurt others in other lifetimes. So I know it. And as a shadow worker, you know it as well. You've been a dark person in other lifetimes. And by the way, almost all of us have, but the shadow worker in particular may have chosen even darker lifetimes because that was going to be a part of your service work contribution. That's part of your light worker archetype, right? A lot of Orion star seeds, by the way. Okay. I know a lot of times we do calls about star seeds on this platform. This one isn't about star seeds, but a lot of Orion star seeds, okay, and I'm an Orion star seeds, are that shadow worker archetype because of the dense webs of karma that exist in Orion's belt because of the experience of the Orion Wars, which was a period of galactic conflict where the beings from Draco, the reptilians from Draco, went around basically conquering all these planets in Orion's belt and pillaging and just taking, right? And because of that, a lot of Orion beings decide consciously to incarnate on Earth and to re-experience genocide, to re-experience the darkest of the dark on Earth from both sides, usually from both sides, and military context, military experiences on both sides, okay? And that's a part of balancing out the leftover karma from the Orion Wars, is re-experiencing it in a third density and then alchemizing it, okay? Although we have dark past lives in our history, we alchemize them, and we could say we move up an energetic pyramid, and as we get closer to the top of the energetic pyramid, those experiences are more memories and they're less karmic webs that exist in our energy field. And you'll know the difference because let's say you do a past life regression and you see an experience that happened to you in another lifetime that was dark, or you were part of a dark experience, right? Well, if there's not a reverberating effect anymore in your current lifetime, then those are memories and those are no longer karma. But if it still is causing a block in some way, right? For example, a very common experience for light workers is in one life, whether it was medieval times or the Dark Ages, or even more recently, or it was in cultures that don't accept, like, for example, I think my friend Dawn, who's an astrologer, said that she was living in Egypt when astrology was illegal and punishable. And I don't know if it still is, but I think in certain Arab countries, it's probably still illegal, right?
Here it's not illegal, but for them it's like not everyone. It's like there are two groups. One who uses it, the other one they feel like it's against the religion.
Okay, so they're like ostracized essentially, right?
Yeah.
Right, which can be dangerous, right? And so the point being is that sort of like, resist, that sort of anti-pagan sentiment still exists now. And not just in the Middle East, like in the US, like there's certain pockets of the country, the very, very, Christian parts of the country, where that's absolutely part of the rhetoric. Like recently in Virginia, there was a lawmaker that was that literally came out and said, I'm going to make witchcraft illegal. Okay. All right, buddy, go ahead. So basically what I was saying is like, we as the shadow workers. Okay. No, what I was saying is that a lot of people that are light workers, that are psychics, had at least one or two lifetimes where you got your head cut off, you were burned and maimed, you were tortured, you were humiliated, you were falsely accused, you were something horrible happened to you because you didn't go in alignment with the prevailing religious beliefs and prevailing religious structure. So you were tortured or something happened to you. Now, if that no longer affects you, like that happened to me, but ain't no one in this life, telling me to shut up, and I'm just gonna speak my truth. So for me, I think those are more memories from past lives. I don't think it really affects me. But a lot of you, because you guys tell me this all the time in readings, is that I can see it does affect you. There's a throat chakra blockage, right? There's fear about coming out. It's rather than coming out of the closet as gay, it's coming out as a closet as I'm a psychic, right? That could be scarier in some communities than coming out as gay, right? And so a lot of you, because of your family, because of your community, or just because of the prevailing rhetoric, right, of your culture, there's that fear, or it's not even a real, like, there's not even a real danger there, but it's simply a karmic remnant for you to bust through. So that's the difference between like karma that from past lives affecting you in memories. But the reason I started talking about that is the shadow worker archetype. We generally do have some very dense karma, and because of that, it makes us actually much more able, much more apt at working with people's shadows. The other aspect of the archetype of the shadow worker are people that work in the muck itself, so to speak. The Black Moon Lilith in astrology, the areas of society that the well-to-dos, so to speak, like to sweep under the rug, right? I have a lot of clients and a lot of good friends that are sex workers, for example, right? I've always been one that I understand sex workers. I probably was a sex worker as a woman in another life. But that's, an area that society wants to sweep under the rug, right? So a lot of shadow workers do work in the muck itself, okay? Or some shadow workers are vagabonds, right? I have friends that are they don't work. They don't have any money. They're homeless, and they're more the vagabond type, and they're around those that have been kind of left over by society all the time, and they are themselves. And those are the shadow workers as well, because those are a lot of the ones, who are around addicts, right? Those that have been through addiction, or those that work with addicts, you're a shadow worker archetype, okay? Or those that simply, again, whatever field of work or wherever your soul places you, you're just around a lot of addicts, and you're the one that's trying to help. You're the one that's maybe saving people, right? I know friends that have saved people from overdoses, So that's the shadow worker archetype, and it's so crucial. The shadow worker is maybe the toughest. In a way, it's the most important because it's actually working on the ground, right? Where the leader archetype is more, on a soapbox, with a megaphone, right? Speaking to the masses, which is important and helpful. The shadow worker is actually one-on-one working with others. And the shadow worker, you always, not just other lifetimes, but this lifetime as well, you went through a lot of shit yourself, for sure. So I see myself as the traveling grid worker, the guide, the leader, and the shadow worker. But Montef, which ones resonate with you, would you say?
For the shadow worker, maybe just a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
go deep, like in my own experience.
Yeah.
But just to understand the others, but not, I don't go deep with others. It's I feel more comfortable working with groups than one-on-one.
Yeah. So that's the leader archetype. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guide.
So the guide, like you said, it's I'm stepping into that. So
Yeah.
it's slowly. And maybe the leader also, it's I mean, since I started the show, it's been like that. And I think those resonate more. Maybe also the grid a little bit, as I've been traveling. Maybe I
Yeah.
will be doing more. Maybe just a small percentage of that also.
And I know from my knowing this that you're going to do a lot more traveling, and you'll find yourself in different places around the world. And I absolutely, I think you're the traveling grid worker, the guide, and the leader. I think those are all facets of you. And I'd love to hear, people in the chat.
We have many. It's Violet. She wrote quiet grid worker. I've done that a lot. Gloria, quiet grid worker. Violet's also traveling grid worker. Ellen, I'm definitely the traveler, and the earth has given me back, and I've imprinted my soul's energy into the earth grid It's fun, and I'll continue. Thank you. Susanna, great work, quite great worker, a guide, innovator. Christina, shadow worker, and as well I have from the other archetypes and moving more into leader archetype.
Good.
Yeah, so and many more.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not sure, when we do more readings today, ask me, and or if you end up with one of the packages, especially B or C, you get the live readings with me. I'm happy to tell you, which archetypes I see for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Jen on YouTube, I'm feeling guide and shadow worker very strongly.
Yeah. And I think these archetypes are important because, like, okay, all right, maybe like, Rachel just typed in, grid worker, guide, and shadow worker, right? So it can help you to hone in on like what the more specifics of your service work is by starting with the macro, right? What is the impact? So these 6 archetypes are focused on what is the impact one is having, right? How is one impacting the ascension? But then we can kind of work down, that's the big picture, and then work down towards the earth, more towards a 3D. Okay, who am I impacting, right? That's the next question. Is it addicts? Is it people with relationship issues? Is it other light workers that are trying to develop their spiritual gifts, right? Is it animals, right? Is it the earth itself? Ask yourself, who is your soul asking for you to impact? Who do you feel most inspired to have an impact on, right? And that's a very important question, because there will always be some relationship between the types of beings that you feel most inspired to have an impact on and what experiences you had in other lifetimes, whether that was you or whether that was someone or a group of beings you did impact in another lifetime as well. A lot of people in this lifetime that feel really called towards working with animals, which I'm very inspired to work with animals myself. They had other lifetimes where they were working with animals in some contexts, right? So asking yourself, who is it, right? And then what am I good at? What am I good at? And then also, what if it's not something I'm necessarily good at yet, what do I feel most inspired to learn? Your desires will drive you in the direction of your service work, okay? If you have a burning desire somewhere within, again, that eternal flame, to be a psychic or to be a healer, okay, how do you see that? How do you visualize that? Do you see yourself laying hands on people? Do you see yourself working with crystals? Do you see yourself working with some sort of device, right? How do you see yourself doing psychic readings? What does that feel like? What does that look like? That'll give you, an indication of the more grounded reality of how that will end up manifesting on your highest timeline.
Yeah. Wonderful. So let's see. So yeah, we can talk maybe now about the program Ascendant as one, and then we take questions from the audience. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I invite everyone to visit the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, MATTHEW. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live event page, later on the replay page, and also there is a link on YouTube video description, and I will put it as well on Zoom and YouTube chat boxes. Yeah, so we have 3 packages. So Matthew, so I would love if you can tell us about that.
Yeah, so these are programs that get you into my signature group Ascension mentorship program, which is called Ascending as One. This has been, it's become more and more popular over the years. It's become the most popular way that people from around the world work with me directly. We meet live on Zoom like this on Sundays. There are these wonderful 3-hour calls. The first hour of each call, we do astrology. I am an astrologer, and I talk about astrology all the time publicly, but I really go in depth on these Ascending as One calls. So I start with explaining kind of the macro features, the most recent eclipses, what are the outer planets doing? What are the nodes doing? And then I work down all the way down to the more day-to-day astrology. What are the transits the moon is making? What are the aspects the moon is making day to day? And what does that mean? Okay. What does it mean if Wednesday there's a 16-hour moon void Aquarius? What should you avoid, right? What does it mean if there's a Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, grand Earth trine, coming up on Saturday? What does that mean? How do you take advantage of that? And you get downloadable notes so you understand how to plan out your week, because it's amazing. And if you try it, you'll see it. If you plan out your week in alignment with the planets versus like in deference to the planets, it just makes things so much easier. You know, when is a good time to do things and when is a good time to step back and wait. And that's the first hour. The second hour, we do a topic. I'm teaching you a brand new topic every week. This is where people are like, how in the heck can you know all this stuff? Well, I've been around this whole block a long time. I've been doing this full time a long time. And as I said, I work my behind off to, teach this stuff. So I'm constantly innovating and creating new classes. They're all new classes. So for example, March, we have Healing Your Heart Chakra. Okay. We have a Journey to Inner Earth, Agartha. If you've been interested in knowing what is underneath the surface of the planet, we're going to actually take a group astral journey to the inner Earth, which is going to be wild. Clearing geopathic stress from your home and property. Did you know that if you have, and there's actually been studies on this, that if there's underground water or a geopathic stress line running underneath, it's kind of sad, but running underneath a bed or a chair where, like a TV chair, for example, where someone spends hours a day, it increases the incidence of cancer by well over 100%, by about 150%, I believe was what I read. That there is a direct correlation between geopathic stress underneath a home or a business and health problems and all sorts of problems in life. The good news is that you can learn how to find these geopathic stress lines and this underground water and noxious zones and ley lines on your property simply using dowsing rods. Okay. So I'm going to teach you how to use dowsing rods, and they're very easy to learn. And once you learn how to use them, you'll have what you need to go ahead and walk around your property or walk around your business or your mother's house or wherever and map out where there's geopathic stress. And I'm going to teach you specific techniques, some as easy as getting some blue paint or blue ribbon or getting a copper rod, some more spiritual techniques. But I'm going to teach you techniques that actually work to clear out this geopathic stress. You can't change the structure of the earth, but you can mitigate the effects. You can absolutely mitigate the effects so that it's not causing that higher risk of cancers or other diseases. So that's just March. Okay, you're also going to get April in all the packages: healing your throat chakra, connecting with Lemuria. Okay, we're going to take it. First of all, I am from Lemuria. I'm going to regale you with tales from Lemuria, and I'm going to tell you about what happened at the end of Lemuria and why it was very tragic, and why a lot of us carry a lot of pain and trauma and karma from that. And then we're going to take a group journey into Lemuria. Nutrition for ascension, okay? We are not just energetically ascending, we're also physically ascending, okay? I'm going to teach you about supplements that clean out your pineal gland. I'm going to teach you about supplements that can heal all sorts of physical ailments, okay? So that's those are the classes for March and April. You also get a whole bunch of recorded classes: clearing your inner blocks, activate your maximum financial abundance, mastering your intuition, all about angels, archangels, ascended masters, putting the past in the past, the human energy field 101, the illusion of ego. This is one of my favorite classes I ever did. I do 12 energetic activations, actually clear out these illusions of ego that every human being carries within them. And it's amazing. Afterwards, you'll feel like there's just less chatter. There's less of a sense of disconnection from God, from source, because the ego, all human egos just naturally feel this disconnection from source. And one aspect is rebelling against that. One aspect is feeling a victim because that one aspect is feeling like it knows better than God or source. And so we do energetic activations to clear out all these illusions of ego. All the recorded classes are true master classes. They're all between 2 and 3 hours, some even longer. They're true master classes, okay? You can learn, I've heard this a lot of times over the years, that just from doing one of these master classes, it's a substitute for doing, you know, a $1,000+ course on something. And these master classes, I teach things so concisely and clearly. I'm a Virgo moon, okay? And in such a detailed and logical way that you'll just get it. And so that's why people love doing my classes. So that's package A. Then if you want to do private readings with me, again, package B or C, you get 2 in package B, 3 in package C. 20-minute, ask Matthew anything. Treat me like an oracle, you know, treat me like a crystal ball that you can ask literally anything. And I'll give you the answers as best I can. All questions are on the table. I'm not one of those psychics that says, oh, no health questions, no legal questions. You can ask me anything, okay? And a lot of times people like to ask, where are my star origins? Okay, what are my soul contracts? What is my soul contract with my husband or my sister, right? Who was I in past lives? What's going to happen to me this year? You know, if you want help with a decision, should I sell my house? Should I not sell my house? Like anything. And I work very quickly in these 20-minute sessions. And the great thing is you get 2 or 3 of these. So think of it as part 1, part 2, and part 3 if you get package C, which I hope you do. So you get one reading per month. You also get access to the VIP calls, even more, okay? March 23rd, we are doing our powerful spring equinox group activation. I always do an activation and a group ritual on ascending as one every time we move, you know, for an equinox throughout the wheel of the year, an equinox or a solstice. And they're so powerful. You know, it's the beginning of the astrological year. It's a really powerful time, especially doing it as a group to set intentions for the year to come. And also, you'll get to see my Syrian channeling and not only get to see it, but actually ask questions. So I connect with a group of very kind, wonderful, wise Syrian extraterrestrial beings. There's 5 of them. And you get to ask questions, okay? We had our Syrian channeling call last Sunday, and they had a lot to say. They were telling us about something in the world to come in February. They were explaining the difference between the Christic spiral and the Fibonacci spiral, and how the Christic spiral in sacred geometry is going to more and more replace the Fibonacci spiral on Earth, and how the animal kingdoms on Earth are going to change. They explained the history of the evolution of their animals on their planet. They talked about differences in the weather from their planet versus our planet. They talked a lot about their culture. And then they answered questions from the audience and went on for almost an hour. So the Syrian channeling segments I do once a month, they're so cool. And again, if you're on the call live, you get to talk to the Syrians yourself. And it's really, really cool. What you'll see me when I get into channel, I'm a totally different person. And it's really cool. And then also the April 28th VIP call is the Syrian channeling plus how to do shamanic drumming. So I'm going to teach you how to use your shamanic drums that maybe have been sitting in your closet or your cabinet. Okay, as I said, package B is those 2 readings with me. You also get some other bonuses, learning to use the 12. These are all master classes as well. Learning to use the 12 rays of creator's energy, intro to mediumship. Okay, intro to mediumship. You can do this class. Okay, it's a 2.5-hour class, and it will give you every tool you need to literally become a professional medium if you follow the guidance and the steps that I give you in this. You do not necessarily need to spend thousands of dollars on a course out there on mediumship. If you follow the guidance and the steps in this class, it gives you everything you need, okay? And I know because I've self-taught myself everything. Everything. The only thing I didn't self-teach was Reiki, because I wanted to follow the traditional footsteps of Usui Reiki, because I respect it as, you know, a tradition. Other than that, literally everything in my entire career is self-taught. That's why I make these master classes and these live ascending as one classes as so practical that you can take these 2 to 3 hour classes, and if you really use them, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on full length year-long courses. Okay. An overview of ET races. Okay. If you want to learn about what is out there, you know, in the stars and all these interesting looking beings, and, you know, what starseeds of these beings are like on Earth, whether it's the Arcturians or the Yardians or the Syrians or the Lyrans, etc. Emotional freedom technique, tapping through the 7 main chakras. And by the way, we do tapping on every single call. Every single setting is one call. We always tap because it helps us to integrate the learning from the call. And it's so healthy for the body. It's so healthy for the nervous system. Okay. Spiritual hygiene, cord cutting, grounding 101. It's so crucial because a lot of you probably are walking around with entities that you don't even realize. And I'm going to teach you how to clear them in this class. Okay. A deeper love of forgiveness. And also, if you want to clear entities for others, I do that all the time. And I teach you the exact method I use to professionally clear spiritual entities from people in this class. Again, these are master classes. Okay, so package B, you get 2 months of Ascending as One with VIP, with 2 readings, plus 12 recorded master classes. And package C is the ultimate. Those of you that don't know which package to get the ultimate package. Okay, it's going to get you everything. You can pick and choose. By the way, there's no requirement whatsoever to do all the master classes or to join all the Ascending as One classes. If you want to just, get the live readings with me and then do a couple classes here and there, perfectly fine. Okay, don't feel pressured to do all the classes, right? But I have had a lot of people that come to me and say, I did all the classes and I learned so much and now I'm pursuing this professionally, etc. So package C has 20 recorded master classes, okay? Package A is 6, package B is 12, package C is 20. 3 months of Ascending as One with 3 readings, okay? So the other calls you're going to get are June, healing your third eye chakra, connecting with Atlantis, summer solstice group activation plus Syrian channeling, and coaching skills 101, which will literally give you the skills you need, the secrets and techniques to be a life coach if you want to in one class, and how to be a successful spiritual entrepreneur, where I spill all my secrets that has helped me become financially successful, where this is my full-time career and has been for many years. And I make a decent income and I'm happy about it. And I teach you all my tools and techniques as far as the very practical marketing side of things, but also the spiritual side of things that have helped me to grow exponentially, we could say, in my career and become more and more seen. And I teach, again, these business coaches out there, and I really have a thing against business coaches. I find a lot of them are charging way more than what they're giving. And the reason they think they can charge is because, if I charge $5,000, well, if my client, takes my advice, eventually she's going to make it all back and more. But what I find is like 80% of the time, people don't get even close to the value that they spend with these business coaches. I can teach you everything you need to know about marketing and the energetic side of things as well in this 1 3-hour masterclass, okay, which is in package C. Okay. So again, don't think, and you look, maybe you get inspired by one of my masterclass and then you say, you know what? I actually want to take a full length course. Go for it. Go out and spend the money and do a full length course with someone else on that. But allow these masterclass at the very least to be an introduction. And at the very most, to be maybe all you need to take with you and develop yourself, right? So you get that. You get how to move on completely from your ex, which is a wonderful class on healing heartbreak. Healing with colors, which is really helpful for those of you that are energy healers. Powerful visualization techniques for ascension, how to learn to use your third eye. Addiction relief for light workers. And I'm sure there's 1 or 2 or probably more, probably a dozen or 2 addicts that are going to end up watching this. You can be a light worker and an addict. Believe me, I've worked with many of them and I was an addict myself too. Luckily, nothing hard. I was a marijuana addict. And I know, there's that scene from Half-Baked where, one of the characters goes to a meeting, right? And he says, I'm addicted to marijuana. And the marijuana? Boo this man. And they start throwing food at him, right? But marijuana is an addiction, okay? So that's my history of addiction. But on this class, you'll hear stories from people with really hard addictions, really scary addictions where they almost died or did have an NDE, had an overdose, etc. But we're able to overcome it. And it's one of the things that, unfortunately, and it's one of the things I don't like about this spiritual community is it gets swept under the rug, addiction. It's like, the premise is like, we're light workers. We're too good to be addicts. And, behind the scenes, some of these people that are saying that are addicted to cigarettes still. Some of them are addicted to gambling. Some of them are addicted to porn, right? There's a lot of fakery out there. I know a lot of people that are like, in the industry that are addicts behind the scenes. And I know, look, Osho was an addict. Wild Wild Country, the documentary, right? The one of the best spiritual documentaries ever. Osho was a really bad addict, right? But he was still a very inspiring, man, and wrote these amazing books. And addiction and being a light worker are not mutually exclusive, but it's swept under the rug. I want to bring it up from under the rug, and I want to help you with it. Okay, so that class is in there as well. Change your reality by changing your words, understanding and seeing your past lives, navigating the dark night of the soul, and also a free guided meditation. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. What I want you to do, if you do package B or C, pick and choose the master classes. Watch one on a Thursday, one on a Saturday. A lot of you are going to feel inspired to watch them all, but there's no expectation of it. And there's no expectation to join all the Ascending as One calls either. Pick and choose the calls that inspire you. And the great thing is that the recording gets uploaded directly after the call. So, and you can easily just go on Vimeo where the recording is and move the cursor over if you can't watch the whole call, or you can watch it in segments. And you get to download the notes from the class as well. So even if you miss the class and you don't have time to watch it, you can go over the notes so you didn't really miss the class, okay? I make it so accessible. There's also a Telegram group where you can join. And the Telegram group is great because we post in there every day. And it's a way of bonding as community. Because one of my intentions with Ascending as One is not just to teach and to heal, but also to band together as a community. That's why it's called Ascending as One. The all coming into communion as a group. And the Telegram group is a way that we stay in touch with each other. And I've had many people make friends with one another just from that Telegram group. So it's a great program. I've heard nothing but just gratitude from people that have been in the program. I see some names on the call right now that have already been in the program. And please, if you feel inspired, rejoin, with this package. And this is the lowest cost that we've ever offered as far as the value you get. I've never offered so many of these master classes and so many of the Ascending as One calls in these packages as we're doing today with the prices that we're doing. And what are the prices are great, right? What are we doing?
For package A, it's 111, 111.
Yep.
Package B, it's 233, and
Yep.
C, it's 333.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
there are
That's awesome.
payments plans also.
Yeah, payment plans too. Yeah. So, even if you can't pay in one chunk, Monsef is wonderful that he offers you the opportunity to do a payment plan. So, these are the best values we've offered. So take advantage of this. Take advantage of this. And we get started, in March. So you'll have you don't have to wait that long at all for this. And you can schedule as soon as you sign up. You can schedule your private sessions. Okay. So if you want to get in early in March, that first part of March, make sure you purchase as soon as you can, because those spots are going to fill up really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Matthew. As always, very grateful to you for offering, for being so generous and offering all these classes, membership, and one-on-one readings. And like I always say, I really love your approach in your master classes, because you go really deep into the subjects, and it brings lots of clarity, your way of presenting. And also,
Thank
I
you.
love the activations and processes. And I had like a powerful one. I think it was the moving on from your ex.
Yeah.
It was very powerful for me.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. So yeah, and also love the session, one-on-one session, as I had with you before. It was
Yes.
where we could connect with like to know like my connections with other beings and how it relates
Yes.
to my divine purpose. So
The soul contracts,
right,
so your star origins, right?
right.
And again,
Yeah.
I'm happy to read. It's a lot of times the first question when people get on the phone with me is, okay, where am I from? And I'm like, all right, let's find out. And I ask my guides to show me, and they always do. So
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you again. And so everyone, I invite you to sign up for one of these 3 packages. And again, the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, MATTHEW. The link also on YouTube video description. There is a special offer button on the live events page, the replay page, and also on the chat boxes on Zoom and YouTube. So can we add more time to take questions?
Oh, I'm you got me all day. Whatever you want. I'd be happy to take questions. I'd even be happy if we have time just to go over a little bit of the astrology stuff, before the end of the call. But whatever works for you.
So we'll take a question, then we do astrology, then another question.
Sure.
So, Christina, can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear
Hello
me?
there. Yes.
I will try to keep my accent so you can understand me. I won't put the camera because my hair is kind of greasy. I put some oil, coconut oil, doing some
Yeah.
treatment.
No. Look at mine. I'm still trying to ungrease mine, so don't worry about it.
Similar. Plus,
If you have any tips, let me know.
just enjoy the oil, coconut oil, just for a few
Okay.
hours and shower.
Yeah.
Makes
In the winter,
weird.
it's so dry all the time. Like in the summer, my hair is just better for whatever reason. So
happy to be here. And about the courses, like wonderful. I think I feel the urge or the calling from my guides to join. So maybe we'll see you soon.
All right, we'll see. I'm excited. Yeah. So what's a good question we can in this moment we can dig into, whether it's about obstacles or soul's purpose or your Lightworker archetype, etc.
Soul purpose, because maybe a little bit of obstacles because I'm going through. I'm showing myself because all the session you had today, I felt the session or the call, today's call was very similar to my path. Putting myself,
that's
showing
great.
my voice. So it's exactly what I'm needed. I'm in the process to do my website and other stuff. I'm in the beginning. So, oh, wow.
Make sure you do Package C because that's spiritual entrepreneurship webinar. Again, don't think you got to spend a ridiculous amount of money. Like start with this. It's more than enough. Yeah,
I get it. Plus the number. Yeah. The connection about the numerology. Yeah. So maybe I will leave it to my guides and what will my guides wants to show through you. What I need at this moment in time. I prefer this, but usually I'm like to be
that's great. I'm happy to do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. I prefer
let me just see what let me just pause and just kind of see what they show me. Okay, so I'm going to talk to my guides here. So what is Christina? I think you're gonna be happy to hear this. And again, I never sugarcoat, so I wouldn't say this if we're not the truth. The vision I got was like you've been struggling. It's like you've been on a hike forever, and you barely any water, barely any granola bars, and just exhausted. And it just seems like one thing after another comes up.
Yes,
but it's because of where you've been. The portion of your soul's plan, your life plan in this lifetime that you've been in that's what it's been about. It's been about testing your perseverance and your self-belief, and also about separating you from relationships that are no longer in the highest good for you to really cultivate anymore. Now the time is changing. You're turning a new page in your life's book. Okay. And the next chapter that you're turning towards, what I see now is that all these resources, so in the metaphor of the hike, now all these helpers are coming to refuel you and resupply you and give you smoothies and meals and walk with you. And all the energy now is aligning for you to actually step up from more of the karmic pool, the karmic alchemizing, to actually stepping into your destiny. I do see you as a powerful guide for others and healer of others. Women will be a lot of your clients. A lot of women that are parents, a lot of women that have had relationship struggles. And I would just really encourage you to use this year to really step on the gas pedal and get going into that, because all the energy is now supportive of that, where before, the reason that you've encountered so many obstacles is because you weren't in that chapter, you weren't in that part of your life just yet, but now you're entering into that right now this year. So
plus the connection is very intense now with me, with my guides, and my light language, my hands have been activated, Kundalini, like everything has been activated for me. Makes sense.
So take advantage of it, and please sign up for the program. It will be such a wonderful launching point and such a wonderful community of support. So many people in Ascending as One are healers or developing as healers, and they're using Ascending as One to help boost them forward. So please join it, and I'll be looking for your name.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.
And everyone, love to everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. Beautiful. So thank you, Matthew. And so would you like to share maybe about this year astrology?
Yeah. So and boy, I can't believe we're already at the end of January, right? And a lot of people will be watching this in February. So I don't know if we can still say it's a new year or not. Well, we can, because we haven't hit the Chinese the Lunar New Year yet, right? So those cultures that follow the lunar calendar, like China, right? The Lunar New Year is coming up with the next new moon in Aquarius, right? And then, of course, we got the astrological New Year, which comes at the vernal equinox. But this year, the main theme is that Pluto moved into Aquarius, on January 20th, and it was conjunct the sun, as I talked about. The next 20 years is, Pluto marks epochs and eras. So it's going to be about a rapid growth in technology and AI. It's going to be about rapid disclosure, right, of our place as a galactic in a galactic community. Extraterrestrials actually showing themselves, more and more. And it's also going to be about freedom, because Aquarius is it's ruled by Uranus. It's a sign of freedom. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius from hair, right? We started back in the 60s, when we had a lineup of planets in Aquarius in 63, right around the Kennedy assassination. And that was like the launching point into the first launching point into the age of Aquarius. And then we had the harmonic convergence of 87, then the turn of the millennium, and then 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, and then 2020. And now the next step is 2024, because of Pluto entering into Aquarius, and it's the on-ramp. So over the next 20 years, we're going to see the shifting in all the systems, all of the old, deteriorating, sick systems of control and manipulation around the planet are going to be shifted and restructured. But it's not an instant thing. It's going to take a while. But this year is the start of that, which is why, ironically, again, the whole dichotomy of things will likely see actually more war and more natural disasters and more problems on this planet than in a long time. But we also have Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in Taurus, as I said. That's going to launch the most amazing technological innovations. For example, we already have Teslas, self-driving cars, right? You're going to see those more and more around. And we're not too far away, from flying cars before the end of the decade. But those sorts of technological innovations are going to be downloaded into people's consciousnesses around this time, The other thing I wanted to talk about as far as astrology, Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, the whole year is going to create more spiritual awakening on the planet than ever before, because Neptune is the 12th house. It is the planet of spiritual awakening. Saturn is the planet of karma and past lives. So it's awakening through having to re-experience karma, which becomes awakening points, spiritual awakening points for people. And then they wake up into discovering, their connection with the stars and their connection with the divine. But I don't know how much of the planet is awake now. It's still a very small percent. That's going to grow exponentially this year, and into 2025 because of Saturn and Neptune being conjunct in Pisces. So it's an exciting time, which is why, as I said before, if you're looking to maybe enter into the New Age field as a career, there's literally never been a better time than now. And on an individual level, one thing I just want to make a point about astrology, look at your nodes. If you already know how to read your chart, look at your nodes, I am a North Node in Aries in the 9th house. The ninth house is the house of philosophy and travel. Okay. So it fits right into my, archetypes as a light worker, right? The traveling grid worker and the leader. Okay. Then I'm meant to be a teacher of, for me, that ninth house philosophy it's the new age sort of stuff that I teach, right? And I meant to teach it publicly around the world. Aries is about being a leader. Okay. About being someone that is out in the public eye, about being someone that is the captain leading others. So that's me. My South Node's in Libra. So, what I can rely on are certain family relationships in this lifetime. And that's what gives me strength. And also, the South Node shows you where you can rely, where your foundation is, but also some of the stuff to overcome. Like for me, it's overcoming indecision, codependency, right? That's South Node in Libra. So look at your nodes, and where they fall in your chart, which houses. And if you're like, I don't even know what a node is, or I don't even know what a house is, okay, just get package B or C and ask me to read your natal chart. I love pulling up your natal chart in a reading, and I work so quickly, okay? I can do as much in 20 minutes as other astrologers can do in an hour session because I work very quickly, okay? So look at your nodes or ask me about your nodes if you want to really get the most, I think the most practical and grounded and direct kind of information from your soul as far about your life's mission. The way to find it is in your natal chart. It's through your nodes. It's through your midheaven, because your midheaven, the nodes are about the whole purpose of your life, but that purpose goes beyond career. Okay. My purpose as a light worker here, North Node, the ninth house, goes beyond just my career. The career aspect is just one small part of it, right? But the midheaven that does show you what types of jobs and careers you'll end up having. And then you could also look at things like Saturn for where you'll find stability and money. For example, Mars, where and how you put your energy. So ask me to read your chart or look at those aspects on your own. Okay, the nodes, the midheaven, Saturn, and Mars especially. Okay. Question from Amanda. First of all, Violet says, yes, that's why I said my tree is up till Chinese New Year. Yeah, my tree is still up. I think tomorrow it might come down, but it's kind of still alive, but kind of not. And, at a certain point, it's just like totally dead and you got to throw it out. But with gratitude, of course, for the tree. But yeah, Chinese New Year is later this year. So we can celebrate the New Year longer, right? Amanda's question is South Node also what you need to leave behind? Yes. So it's also your foundation and what you're learning to move on from. Yes. Christine says, yep, same with my North and South Node, Aries and Libra. Christine, I wonder if are we the same age? Are you 37? Okay. Yep. So the nodes are generational. The nodes are generational. So
Wonderful. Let's see.
Montef, what are your notes? Do you remember?
I don't remember. No, it's been a long time that I saw my charts. I don't remember it.
Do you want to just for fun type me on Telegram your birth details and I'll look it up? It'll take me 2 seconds.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And yeah. Okay. Yeah, it'll take me 2 seconds. But if you want to talk while I'm looking it up.
Yeah, Christina, she's 36, will be 37 this year. And she is Scorpio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Give me your time too.
5:30 a.m.
Okay. Christina is 37?
36 no.
30 and a Scorpio? I'm a Scorpio. Wow. We got a lot in common, Christina, you and I. And Montef, you're a Scorpio rising.
Okay.
Yeah, you're Scorpio. 12/28/84, right?
12/28/84. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a Scorpio rising. Yeah. Taurus North Node. Okay. Taurus North Node for you, and it is going to be in the. Let me pull up the wheel here. Your Taurus North Node is in which house? It is right on the cusp of the seventh. It's right on your descendant, right? So relationships, like partnership, especially, is like one of the main missions of your life. And
Yeah, this is where I grow most.
what's that?
Yeah, in relationships, it's like it feels like a really fast
Yeah,
period for growth for me. I
yeah,
change a lot.
yep. And
Yeah.
then you got Saturn in Scorpio on your ascendant and your south node. Like you've been a powerful, like, psychic healer, magician, etc. I think maybe even in the lifetime before this, or not too far in your soul's history. And then in this life, it's about grounding it into something that is more applicable in the 3D world where people can find it. Because I think in the past life, you're probably like kind of, I talked about like those, like that Brazilian blind guy that, I was just like in the village he was in, he was revered, but no one would know him outside of that. Right. So you're probably one of those people that were more in the background, but very powerful. And then this life's about it becoming more out in the public. And there's something very important about, I think someday you're going to align um, with the right soul and it'll grow. You two will do a lot of this light work publicly together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
exciting. Thank you. Thank you for
yeah,
that. Um, yeah, so yeah, I want just to take one from Penny. She wrote, wanting to know if my big projects is something I should continue to pursue. Is the question enough, or do you need more details?
yeah. No, that's enough. Who was the question from?
Penny. She's on
Penny.
YouTube.
Okay. I'm gonna, just for fun, since it's easier for me to use tarot when it's the person's not in front of me. So,
Mm.
all right, I'm just gonna ask my trusty friend the tarot. Um, so it's basically, should she pursue this big project?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Should Penny pursue this big project? Rachel, your Aries North Node as well. Are you you're Rachel, I think you're of the previous generation with that, right? So 18, are you 55? Rachel. So if Penny, if this is Penny on YouTube, if this is a project where you're collaborating with someone else, you should move forward with it, and it's going to work very well. And try not to overthink it. Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, I intuited that. So I hope that's helpful, Penny. So that's a yes. Joshua says, me too, Aries, North Node, Libra, South Node partner has the opposite. That's an interesting juxtaposition when there's a partnership where you have that. You really are balancing each other out in a powerful way. And that could be an indication of like a divine union type relationship, or it could be a karmic relationship to teach you everything you need to know. But if you're curious, you can always ask me about that in a reading.
Yeah. Penny, she wrote, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
So do we take a call? Maybe one more?
Sure. I think one more would probably be good. And then we're 2 hours here. So
Janet, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi there.
Hi.
hello.
Hi. Thanks for being so generous with your time, both of you today.
You're welcome.
So my question is around my own intuition, something I've been trying to dig into with different modalities and for a long time and not feeling like I'm making headway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if you have some insights around methods that might be an easier inroad for me.
Yeah, let me feel into that. Is your intention more to heal or to enlighten, would you say, if you had to pick one?
Oh, there's a difference, huh?
I think so. I mean, you know, ideally, maybe we do both. But if you like, I lean towards, I think, enlighten.
Okay. Yeah.
Which of those would you lean toward? Enlighten? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you feel that, like, sometimes when you do readings that you get into a flow?
No, very much not. Like I feel like
that's
usually
the block.
in my head.
Right. So you need a specific have you learned the tarot?
I have just started thinking about tarot. I have a deck.
You need a specific methodology. Okay.
Okay.
It's probably somewhere in your, in your astrology. That's what's going to work. Is a specific, tarot's what started me. Okay. 15, I don't know, 18 years ago. Like tarot started me. And that's what I always lean towards. So I would highly recommend tarot as a methodology. You just need a methodology that's specific. And then go from there. And then if you also want to do healing work, again, a specific methodology. So whether it's Reiki or IET or both, right? Or if something, just think in terms of, let me pick 3 or 4 specific methodologies that I have a certification for and go from there.
Okay.
If you want to learn the tarot, I do teach that, in my other, outside of context of your divine uniqueness, but we're almost at the end of this year's course. I'll teach it again next winter.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put that in my calendar to check that out.
Yeah, just sign up for my newsletter. It's not too late. You could jump in on this year's if you wanted to, if you wanted to more self-navigate. But I do that once a year in the winter.
Excellent. Okay, I will check that out. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Susanna says South Node retrograde, Capricorn 4th house, North Node. So all just for everyone, your chart will always show the nodes as retrograde because the nodes move clockwise where everything else moves counterclockwise. FY. So South Node in the 4th house, North Node in the 10th house. It means that your your work in the world, or your public image in the world, is very much aligned with your soul's most important lessons when you have North Node in the 10th house. And also it shows the importance of, you wanted to create a life as a soul here where you'd be very supported by family. Okay. It's crucial because you come from a lifetime before this of basically not having family and basically being ostracized from a community. And in this life, you wanted to be fully supported, right? So in this life for you, it's about evolving more into the more healed version of self that is finding the right community and sharing wisdom from your experiences. Because I, get that your soul has created a very unique life for you that's different than most people, right? So it's important that you share those experiences, whether it's through writing a book or whether it's through, making YouTube videos or writing a blog or something about it, like, because it's going to help other people that resonate with the types of experiences you've had and the types of the uniqueness that you know navigate versus most of the world. As far as star origins, there's a very strong mantis for you, and a lot of times mantis star beings in their ascension lifetime, one of their intentions is to come into a physical body that they don't feel real comfortable in, and that almost feels kind of foreign to them in a way, and also like trouble integrating with community, feeling different than others, you know, not being treated as equal by others, because so much of it is about finding your uniqueness, like the name of the show, your divine uniqueness. Perfect way to wrap us up, right? In this life. So mantis beings are especially, and also you've been an Orion being, and there's a lot of dense karma from other lifetimes. You might feel really like you can't look at the war and the violence and like it's too much. It's too much, you know. And that's from being an Orion being. And also the Orion party is going to help you really want to like read everything you can. And then there's a Pleiadian part of self where you're like relationships and especially family relationships and alchemizing those in this lifetime are so important. And also a lot of times Pleiadians play the role of, again, kind of the black sheep, those that are misunderstood or not accepted. And it's all about just embracing your divine uniqueness. Only a true professional could wrap it up like that, right?
Wonderful. Yeah, maybe that's part of your career also as a you do comedy as well.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Stand-up comedy.
Actually, I'm performing at the Conscious Life Expo next week on the Expo's Got Talent show on the Saturday night after the or right before the award show. I'm doing my spiritual stand-up comedy set. So if anyone's in LA or on the West Coast, come to the Conscious Life Expo and come see me. February 9th through 12th. My booth's on the lower level LL5, and I'm doing live readings at the booth. And I have a workshop right after the rigged Super Bowl, which I just look. I think, you know, a lot of top level sport, I'm more and more thinking is rigged. So I don't trust that they're not going to just have the Chiefs win so Taylor Swift can go on the field and kiss Travis Kelce, right? And they can get that photo op. But my workshop's right after the Super Bowl. So forget about the rigged NFL and come see me.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. So Matthew, thank you so much.
Although I think the World Cup is real. I hope it is. I hope it is. You know.
Yeah. I mean, the World Cup, like for my country, like Morocco, it shifted a lot. I mean, energetically.
It's so important. Yeah. I mean, like it's so crucial to like,
from
especially the
victim
smaller
shift,
country.
like in a short period of time to more
Right.
empowerment. It was yeah, I never expected it can do that. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so wonderful.
But the NFL is so like creepy and like aligned with the Illuminati and you know, I don't trust the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl halftime show is just one big every year Illuminati satanic exhibition. A lot of times the stage will begin and end on the 33-yard lines. You know, they use that number 33 a lot in their Illuminati exercises. So anyways, come to the Conscious Life Expo if you're in LA. Forget about the Super Bowl. Come see me. That's the point.
Yeah. Wonderful. So yeah, again, thank you so much, Matthew, for your time.
Thank you.
And everything you shared. It was really powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you for the support you gave to our callers, and also for being generous with your packages. So thank you again. And also, everyone, thank you so much for being here, for sharing with us the space and time, your beautiful energies as well. And again, yeah, I really invite you to sign up for one of the 3 packages that Matthew is offering us. And the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, MATTHEW. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description and on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube.